Hi, welcome everyone to day 3 of DrupalCon Dublin. Today is the last day of DrupalCon Dublin, and there's lots more in store for all of us. Addy and I are the community represented board members, and it gives us extreme pleasure to welcome you all here today. Would like to kick off today with a short note on contributing back to Drupal. We all use Drupal in many ways. The best way to appreciate and recognize open source is by giving back. Giving back is not just about contributing code. It could be done in many ways. You could be in documentation. You could be involved in UI, UX. If you are owners of organizations, just giving time for your staff to work on contributions is a big way to give back. Being here at DrupalCon is a big way to give back too. What is needed is consistent contributions across these areas, and make sure you give back. Drupal Association supports many initiatives to help local communities to give back. The Community Grants Program has helped many camps and local communities to run their programs. Some of the recent camps that have benefited from this are the Vietnam, Moscow camp, and the Mexico camp. Join the Drupal Association, enjoy the benefits of these grants, and make your local communities grow. I would like to present to you a quote by our former Indian President, APJ Abdul Kalam. It does not matter how large or small your sphere of activity is. What counts finally is the commitment that you bring to the job that has been ordained for you in this life.
Thank you, Shamala. When Shamala was talking about giving back, one way immediately, if you would like to jump right into this, tomorrow we have our big sprint day. So the contribution sprints are happening. And this was actually one of the ways that I got involved in the community. I didn't know what I was doing, but I showed up and I ended up meeting lifelong friends and really understanding how things work in terms of the community. If you've never sprinted before, there's actually a workshop that's going to walk you through the whole process, and we have mentors who will take your hand through the whole day. So if you've never done this before, you don't have an excuse. We have the various sprints are listed up here. Please come tomorrow if you're around, even if it's only for an hour or two. Come and hang out and get to know some people. It's really, I think to me, this is probably one of the major points of DrupalCon, is coming to the sprints. And as Shamala also mentioned, those community grants that are helping local communities kind of bootstrap and grow, that is funded through Drupal Association memberships. So if you're not already a Drupal Association member, I would ask you to join. You don't have to give a ton of money. Every little bit helps. It all goes into a pool, and then that money goes back out to our community to help it grow. So you can you can go to Drupal.org or association.drupal.org and sign up online right now. I mean, you know, if I see some people have laptops out. I mean, you can do this right now. But if not, you can also, maybe do it next week. Just saying, don't let it get too far away from you, because then you'll forget, and I'll have to follow up with you. So anyway, those are some easy ways to give back right now. I'm going to run through some special announcements. You have probably seen these special announcements over and over again this week, so there shouldn't be anything too surprising in here. Coffee, of course, the coffee situation is the same as it has been, but I want to give a shout out to MailChimp for making sure that we have coffee today. It's been a long week. I think probably a lot of people were having fun last night, and I think coffee is going to be required to get through today. So thank you, MailChimp, for that. Lunch is the same situation as we've had, so pick the time that you want to have lunch. If there's a session, you can do that and then just push your lunch later. Same situation for if you have special meal needs. Vegetarian, gluten-free is actually in the regular line. Special meals, go to the nutritional information desk for that. Our hashtags, our social media, the same standard ones are going, but for today's keynote with Enzo, the hashtag is DCEnzo. So as you have questions or thoughts or stuff you want to tweet out, make sure you use that hashtag so that we can capture that stuff. Our code of conduct, if you have any questions about the code of conduct, here are people you can get in touch with, but you can certainly contact anybody on the staff as well if you're not sure what the code of conduct is. This is exciting stuff right here. Tonight is trivia night. If you've never done trivia night, it is a great place to just relax, but learn a lot of Drupal history. And I just have to say, we're in Ireland, okay? And so trivia night is all about, got started by the Irish crew, and they're amazing. This is going to be the most epic trivia night ever in DrupalCon history. So if you're only ever gonna go to one trivia night, you have to go tonight. It's gonna be hysterical. Just telling you right now, it's gonna be amazing. Sessions stuff, of course, we still have Birds of a Feather that are going on. Make sure you check the schedule for what's happening today. And we also do have a session change today. It's not a big one, it's just a little shift in time, but implementing design patterns with PHP, it was originally scheduled for noon, and now it's gonna be at 1 o'clock. So it's just an hour later, in the same place, same schedule scheme, same stuff like that. And then I also wanna point out, today is the last day. Oh, sadness. But we have our closing session, which is going to start at 3:30. There'll be a coffee hanging out, so you can like caffeine up and then come in, and we'll wrap up DrupalCon, and we'll also learn where the next one's going to be in Europe. Just saying, I want to show up for that. And then also, please make sure you evaluate the sessions that you've been to. This is how people learn to improve, but also, this is where if you really enjoyed a session or you got something out of it, let that person know. Like, it takes a lot of guts to get up on a stage and share your thoughts and ideas with people. So give them feedback. Like, it's the least you can do. So please fill out the session evaluations.
A big thank you to the sponsors, I think, without whom this event wouldn't be possible. Request all of you to go to the exhibit hall, and the booths close by 2 p.m. Meet the sponsors and give them your note of appreciation and hear what they have to say.
And I'll give a shout out for our supporting partners. The supporting partners are who basically make sure that all of our day-to-day operations for Drupal work. Drupal.org, the website, the infrastructure, all of these things that we need to keep our community running day-to-day outside of DrupalCon itself. Supporting partners are there for us. So I'm going to hand this over to Mika and Roni from Druid, who have a few words to say, and they are one of our big sponsors for DrupalCon, so thank you guys very much. Okay, so you just, and then...
Yeah.
We have only one mic.
Yeah. Are these working?
Yeah.
Okay, cool. Well, it looks pretty amazing from this point of view. What do you think, Ronnie?
Yeah. Should we take a selfie?
I guess we should,
Is that okay?
if it's working.
Smile.
Can you make some noise?
Nice.
Thanks, guys. Look, I'm also do that.
Oh.
What were you supposed to say? I'll use this one. We kind of were too early with the presentation, so we made it all again.
Here.
Oh, I was already in the next part. But yeah, the whole week has been a blast. It's been so great to be here, sponsoring this great event.
Okay, so sponsoring this DrupalCon has been on our bucket list since we started Druid. And we are thrilled that it only took us 4 years, which is actually really short time for us. And that is all because of you, the Drupal community. All the amazing contributors for our beloved software. This is truly where the magic happens, the DrupalCon. Thank you so much, and let's give applause to all of us. Yeah.
Yeah, we really don't want to get you bored with all the speeches, so we actually made a video for you about what we have been doing here and how much more fun we had. And, well, anyway, if you're looking for awesome community-oriented flat organization to work in or to do business with, we might be the company you're looking for. Or if you have had enough of waterfalls or need an agile partner to work with, just look for us.
These are the druids you are looking for. Yeah, we made this short video for all the fun because we're not great speakers. We made a video for you from our weekend.
I put my cap upon my head and I took a walk outside. I knew right then and there that this would be a crazy night. When the rains came pouring down and washed away my bleeding soul, I couldn't help but miss my girl back home in County Mayo. Was a cool summer breeze in the evening light. My intoxicated stupor, I couldn't sleep at night.
It's great to be here, all of you. And now let's have fun.
In my intoxicated stupor, I couldn't sleep at night.
Missä se on?
Thank you. We love to party, as you can see, so please do it with us.
Hope you all have had as much fun as we have. Yeah. And next up is Eduardo Garcia, known in Drupal community as Enzo. He is Colombian living in Costa Rica, co-founder of Annexus, distributed Drupal working in Latino. He has had his last adventure in joining venture named We Know, which is Drupal 8 and Symphony consulting and trading company. Welcome, Enzo.
Working? Yep. Okay, hi, good morning everybody. Thank you for coming. Yeah, I know it's hard to be so early because, you know, there are a lot of parties around, so thank you for being here. Where are the slides? Here. Okay. So today, I am going to talk about a tour I did this year, and I am doing actually. Around the world, counting for now in 140 days. I want to talk about some lessons I learned and some proposal I think we could maybe implement in our community. So this will be my agenda, an overview of my trip. Don't worry, it will be short, not as long as my trip. Second, I would want to talk about customer journey. Then I want to talk about the concept Nomad. It's a way to enabling the knowledge transfer in our community. And at the end, I want to talk about a concept I call community customer service. So basically, I am going to talk about traveling, but not traveling alone. Using an Irish expression is Gideon Berge Bohar, which means two people makes a journey easier or to shorten the road. So in our case, our companion is the community. First, let me play a video that shows my trip in a chronological order. And I am going to tell you why I did this trip. So back in 2015, I proposed for first time my name to be part of Drupal Association board. And in this time, my proposal was under the slogan, let me be your voice. And my proposal was centered in the spirit to bring in a different point of view, the point of view of Drupal citizens from developing countries. That's mean Latin America, Africa, Asia, and so on. And I truly believe maybe we need to create a plan, a real plan, to try to foster those communities. And not only that, we need to do a plan to try to learn from their needs. And this is exactly what I'm trying to do, to try to bring their voice and show off to everybody who is listening. Sadly for me, during those elections, I didn't get elected, but that is another story. But I truly believe in this idea. So 1 year ago, after DrupalCon Costa Rica, I decided to put my money where my mouth was. And then I say, I really think this is something one needs to do. And I just think, well, I don't need any endorsement for anyone. If I want to, the things happen and I could do, I will do, and that's it. So I started a plan to try to make this trip to visit as many countries and cities around the world in my objective I could visit. My criteria was pretty simple. I just need to find a local leader that want to organize a Drupal meetup to talk about Drupal 8 and specifically about the Drupal console project. Honestly, the response was quite better than I never expected because people open their expenses, but also they open their own house to stay. And sometimes the community leaders, they pay some travel expenses in my trip. What I gained from this journey, I could say context, because in the future, when I am going to talk with anyone from one of those countries, their words or the comments will have a more meaning, if it's possible, for me, because I could see a little bit about their reality. So it's different when someone sells something and you only evaluate from your side. You need to be there, try to spend some time with there to try to understand how difficult are the stuff. And for me, that is priceless. So let me show you some statistics on my trip. So basically, I traveled from west to east by flight and car. I walk a lot, as you can see. I took a couple high-speed trains. I take a boat, but I don't have numbers for that. And sadly, I couldn't find a balloon in my trip to try to match the Jules Verne book Around the World in 80 days. But maybe I have an excuse to do a 2017 tour. Who knows? I'm still talking with my wife about that. Some numbers. Maybe the most challenging thing in my trip was to try to write a blog post to try to document what happened every day. Honestly, I pretend to use this with my grandsons just to show off how cool his grandpa was once. Maybe the most scary thing was trying to get a haircut from someone who doesn't understand me. So I always get something in the middle that what I want and what he wants, but it's okay. So, as I say, I didn't expect to plan in too many places at the beginning. But when I was planning my trip, I would contact with some people and they say, hey, if you came here just because you are in the area, maybe I contact you with someone close in my country. When I say close in China is right? But this is something what I did. So I get in contact with a lot of people, and then this is what happened. So I visit 28 cities in 4 continents, participating in Drupal camps, Drupal meetups, and Drupal cons. And in all of these events, what I did is basically just sharing what I know about Drupal 8 and about Drupal console, and most especially about Drupal communities. But now, let me talk a more special journey. In this case, I want to talk about the journey inside our international community. Maybe people relate traveling like the feeling of happiness or realization, but actually, for me, traveling is just to try to overcome all the eventualities you could find in a trip. And that is exactly what happened in our Drupal community. Right? We need to continue moving, and it happened, but we need to continue. That's it. Talking about digital strategies, now one of the most important things we need to define when we are providing a solution for a client is to define the customer journey. Right? This is a very typical situation. But I think we don't have the time yet to try to define what is the Drupal customer journey inside our community. I don't want to pretend to be a user experience expert, but in my trip I could identify maybe a regular road followed by almost any international Drupaler. And today I want to show you some ideas I think we could implement inside our community just to try to do this trip a little more pleasant. So let's start with the landing experience in this journey. So one of the most stressful situations in our life is when we landing in a foreign country, and it's normal because you have been flying for maybe more than 10 hours or something, you don't speak the language, you don't have the local currency, border controls, agents sometimes could be a little rude, right? And you will get at the airport and everybody looks like they are trying to fool you, or everything takes like a scam, and you don't have a phone, and the worst, you don't have internet, right? So it's how horrible situation. Please raise your hand if you have been in this situation before. Okay, just in case we have any Irish authorities, we are not talking about Ireland. We're talking in somewhere other place. And when you are in this situation, the common sense says you just need to follow the signals and you will be right? It's normal, right? Yeah, right. So I know this, you could find these signals in some airport in Asia. To be honest, I don't know the meaning of the Chinese symbols. But the English part, for me, looks like a masterpiece of dirt obvious. It's like, yeah, okay, so I am here. Why now? So maybe, I am sure maybe someone is really proud about this signal because and this Chinese part maybe have the perfect meaning for the Chinese users, but they totally forget the rest of the world. Right? And this for me is like you need to understand your clients are not only your current clients. Your client is everybody, and you need to be prepared for them. And this is a bad example, or a good example of bad knowledge of your customers, right? So, and I could understand maybe many of you could say this is the kind of crazy stuff that happened in Asia, and that would never happen in our countries because we never do this kind of mistakes, right? But actually, this is actually how international community feel when they land in our website, in Drupal.org, and in all the countries. So, according to the British Council, 25% of the world have some level of understanding in English, and it's a huge number. 25 is a huge number, right? But we need to understand we are not thinking about the other 75% in the world, and 75% is a huge number. So think about this. Those situations are the same. It just depends how you see. So maybe we are worse than the Chinese symbol because we have been doing this for years, and we know that because maybe they don't know And we know that. So I think in order, obviously we have been doing a great job as a community, right? Our community is international, but I think we need to be more local in order to be international. And we need to trust more in our local communities in order to be able to do that. Technically, we have the total control to do this. So I think my first proposal is to try to enable Drupal.org to be multilingual and regional, and I will explain why. Imagine I am a sales guy in a Drupal workshop located in Japan, right? Maybe I am trying to sell a new website for the University of Okinawa, and not everybody in Japan speaks English, because usually they speak more Chinese or Korean because it's more relevant for their business, but I am trying to sell that, and I show this to my client, and the client's first concern is, well, this product is not in Japanese. It's good and everything. So then I am trying to sell an education website, and they saw there are good examples, obviously, University of Chicago, Harvard, and so on, but those examples for them sound like a different reality. So they say, okay, this is out of my league, right? But the story will be different if we potentiate or empower the local community to try to regionalize this content. So they could put in Japanese, first good thing, and the second is they could create case study maybe for University of Tokyo. So in this case, my potential client will say, University of Tokyo is close to my reality. So that means if they do, I could do too. And obviously it will be a good sales point. And not only it's about another language. So think about here in Ireland, in the UK, in Canada. For them, it would be better if the information is in English, but if this information is more relevant for them, like a University of Bristol, University of London, University of Waterloo, when I am trying to do that, again, the reality of this university is not the reality for local countries, right? And so this is not only a matter of English or not English. It's about regionalization. The information must be relevant. And I know many of you maybe are thinking, try to do this, it's a lot of work. But believe me, if you enable this in a local community and they only translate or regionalize few information, few pages, this is more valuable for them than to have thousands of pages that maybe are not valuable for them. The second problem of this, in the same way in airlines we have this concept, loyalty programs. And loyalty programs are basically just private clubs, right? It's really hard to try to transfer miles from one program to another. And in our Drupal community, I think, because the language, we are creating a loyalty program which the only requirement is if you speak English, you are here. Because the other users, they don't have the option to use the ECQ or the documentation. I know recently was published the auction, the documentation will be translatable, and this is great. But I don't want to pretend to say I'm a module maintainer, he needs to provide support for all languages in the world. I think we need to think a little more different. What we need to do is enable the construction of knowledge base inside our community officially, and the key here is official, because all the tools we have right now are oriented for our current community. We always had a problem, like we never found new developers, and the problem is the onboarding process. So it's really difficult to hire someone to say, hey, I just came to this website, and I learned for myself, especially if they are not English speaker. So companies, they need to invest a lot of money to try to train the resources, because it's not easy to get involved. So to solve the problem with the maintainer, it's impossible to provide support for many languages, but if we create knowledge bases for local communities, we will tackle a problem happening in other communities, like in China. They have a different way of communication. I will talk more about later that. But the problem is the newcomers, they always ask the same things, right? And they say, hi, install Drupal. I have this error, blah, 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 blah. And the problem is this is a lot of work for them, and they get tired, and sometimes they stop to support. But when they reach the point, it's because someone pointed this is private community in their not official system. But if someone is regionalized or in the language, in Drupal or, and is official and is in his language, I think with the time we will start seeing new people that they could train by themselves, right? We need to facilitate this process. So another travel ideas is travel agencies. Travel agencies have been working for 19th century. So that's been, this concept has been working for more than 2 centuries. And again, travel agencies are a concept that works, right? People use every day. You go to point A to point B, you enjoy your trip, and that's it. But not because it's functional, that means it's efficient. For this reason, we have all these products that now change the way we travel. We have Airbnb, Uber, Kayak, Expedia, and others, right? Why? Because this is the kind of places where people like to be. And this is the kind of tools that people like. For this reason, eventually in the future, those products will be replaced the concept of travel agencies. And I think in our community, we have our own travel agency, something that is functional, but it's not efficient. And it's called IRC. When newcomers came to our community, and this is a quote, you could find the address here, this is the feeling for newcomers. So they say, why IRC? And then the answer is, again, the same answer an owner of a travel agency will say, oh, we are functional, we have been doing this for decades, blah, 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 blah. But the thing is like a newcomers, they don't care about that. They want to use the tools they are already using. And using this tool, and I'm not saying we need to stop use IRC. It's functional, works for a lot of people, but we need to think about, again, for the people who is outside our community, the newcomers. And the newcomers, they don't like these products, and maybe we will be a little pretentious to say, oh, if you don't want to adopt us, it's okay. So you are not the kind of people we want. But I think it's totally wrong. With this situation, what we are doing is putting blockers to getting in our community. And actually, as community, our business is to be where the people is. And I said, as many people we could embrace in our community. Now, let me put an example I really know well. We need to improve our public address system. In the project Drupal Console, where I am co-maintainer, obviously, the key of any open source project is community, people who is engaged with the idea. So we were trying to create a community around this project, so we create an IRC channel, and then publish, tweet, and everything. And after a month, we get, well, about 0 interactions. Nobody wants to use that. Then we say, okay, we need to try something else. Maybe IRC is too complicated, let's go to groups. And then we create a Drupal console groups page. After a month, 0 interaction again. Then at that time, I was working and I was learning about Backbone and Marionette, and in that community, they use a system named Gitter, which is similar to Slack. But it's free for open source projects, and then you create a community. And after a month, we have 125 users. And every day, they report some errors, bring some suggestions, create initiatives to how things could be created, and the solution is there. So we promote in the same way, but people like to use this because this provides a lot of integrations, is more friendly and everything, and our business as Drupal Consult is not to select the users we want. We need to be open to try to get more and more community. I know there are some initiatives now, not official. Again, the problem is official, to have some channels in Slack, Drupal for tweet and there are another channels. But I think the key here is the channels we choose must to be official. We need to do a research as community to find the proper solution, because there are some issues about software, free open source software with the Slack or something. But this needs to be official in order to be able to facilitate the process for a newcomer to get in our community without help. So they came here, okay, official channel, Slack or something, or HitChat or whatever. In Japanese, then this is official. I don't need to be mentoring, at least in my first step. I could do it alone. In the same way the travel agencies, we have the problem with promotion. Travel agencies are good because when you are traveling, you don't know the locals, you don't know what exactly is happening over there. So the travel agency, they arrange your agenda, and that's it, right? And the reason is because traditionally, the only way to promote is something like that, a poster, right? Again, is functional because it's around the city, but you need to know the city, walk about the city, already know something about the city to be able to detect this. In our case, our poster, for me, are groups. So groups is something after, in this street, what I found is like people is using less and less and less groups.org. One of the reasons they say one is, I stopped using groups since the option to publish jobs was removed. So, and that happened more than 5 times, they say. And the other people say, I only use groups to be listed in DrupalCon. And I am one of them. And I think it's because people, they want to be feeling like they belong to something bigger than them, right? They belong to something which has a global impact. So maybe the quick thinking could be we need to include DrupalCon inside Drupal.org. But actually, we could do better than that. So if people is not using groups, what they use and why they don't use DrupalCon? In the same way, the travel agencies, those communities, they choose Meetup, Eventbrite, Facebook, and in some regional countries like Korea, Japan, and China, they use Line, WeChat, and WhatsApp or whatever. And the reason is they need to promote the event not only for the current community. They need to promote their events to everybody. They need to be where everybody wants to be. So if I am I don't know, cake developer or something, and I use Meetup to check the events in Orlando or whatever in my community, what I need to do is, I don't want to have a special tab to be aware about Drupal event in my city, because all the work promote in this page. So what I need to do something special with them. So if they don't adjust, I just ignore them. So what community do is, they duplicate the effort. So my third proposal is we need to, if we will continue to use groups or whatever we want to use, is we need to enable the community leaders to use the integration with those systems, right? So Drupal is really well known for this integration, and so I think this is totally doable. And actually, there are a couple models to do that. But we need to understand again, the groups, for instance, is only oriented for the current community. And we are always complaining that we don't have new resources, and we don't have new resources. It's just because we are promoting among us. We need to promote in elsewhere, right, for everybody. And we need to accept the community preferences. Another concept I want to talk about is Nomad, knowledge transfer. So for me, traveling is a lifestyle, and I am sure you agree with me, networking is huge in our international community. So I think we could take a little advantage about that. Think about this. The Drupal community had a lot of events around the world, and they are always looking for mentors, speakers, featured speakers, and keynotes, right? And there are some Drupalers like me that we are always dreaming with the next DrupalCon we want to go. Like, for instance, I am really want to go to the first DrupalCon in Iceland, right? And I know it's not only me. Where are the Icelanders here? Anyone? Okay, maybe we could talk about later about the propaganda. So we need to find a way to try to connect the interests of Drupal events organizers and people who want to travel. And maybe that sounds like a speech elevator for a startup, and actually it is. If you check this website, Startup Travelers, this is exactly what they do. They try to connect startup people who is traveling around the world to try to exchange ideas. So I think we could introduce in our user system inside Drupal to be able to follow a person, exactly how you do in Facebook. Like I want to follow these people or these guys or whatever, to try to know when they are in a space to travel. So as a person, maybe I could share my agenda to say, hey, I am totally open to travel from this day to this day, and maybe another classification to say, from this day to this day, I am going to Myanmar or Australia or wherever. In that way, people who is following me, he could say, they are close to my location. So maybe he lives in California, I am in Burma. So paying a ticket from San Francisco to Burma could be a fortune, but because he is in Myanmar, I just will say, hey, what about if I pay you an extra ticket, I pay the hotel, and then you talk in my session? And for the traveler, he wants to travel more, he will say, oh, sure, why not? It's 2 days, I will be in Burma. The best way to travel in is with a local. This is what the Drupal community do. And for the organizer, maybe he is going to get a high-quality speaker for a fraction of the price. So my proposal, again, is try to enable follow users and share traveling agendas in order to foster the knowledge transfer. Customer service. Again, with traveling, airlines, they are really good trying to sell you travelers, right? They are really good with that. But I don't know what is your experience, but when you try to communicate back with the airline with any issue you have, it's almost impossible. And I think in some level, we are doing the same in our community. Recently, with the rebrand of the Drupal website, we have this part named Community Initiative. And what happened is, if you have some ideas to do and you have some volunteers to do, you could propose this idea, and with the Drupal Association approved, you could implement this idea. But that means you need to have a group of people with the option to do that. And I think it's great, but I think we need to be able to improve that communication system. This is an example, another private messaging system is named Flowdot. So what they do is they use another system named User Voice, and they run a kind of gamification. So all registered users or real clients have the options to, in this case, they say, if I remember well, it's 7 points. So you could propose until 3 ideas and spend your money if you want. And they have a almost semantic relation process for release. And they take in count these ideas to try to be implemented in the next release. So I'm not saying maybe a system like that could be replaced the community ideas or something, but we can empower our users to try to promote ideas and vote for them. And using the semantic release we implemented in Drupal, maybe every 3 months we can look at this and try to understand what people really want. And this maybe could become an output that you could take to become as a community initiative. And for me, this is a way we could improve our communication. Not only like we are the leader of the project, we are going to this, you need to follow, we need to hear also the community. For this reason is we need to create a system to propose ideas. So in summary, let me recap. So I think we need to increase our commitment to the international community. We need to improve our communication channels to encourage the engagement with people, especially with the new generation of our community. We need to tell the world about what we do, using the media preferred by individuals. We need to enable the knowledge transfer, connect the people around the world. We need to listen to our community to provide solutions required by our community. So all these proposals need some intervention of the Drupal Association, but the most important component is the initiative or individual contributions. We need to understand that our community is a long-term project. We need to know that some projects maybe will not have an immediate effect or a direct benefit for me, but this is because some projects have a global impact. And also it's necessary to work to try to bring the new generation of our Drupal contributors in our community. So for me, in summary, with your individual contributions, we will help to create a more robust and worldwide community, and everybody will get a benefit from that. We will create a better product, a better community, and a better world. Thank you for listening. Those are the information for the slides and video if you want.
Thanks very much, Eduardo. Fascinating talk. Hope my voice holds up. I was busy winning Web Awards last night, but hopefully my voice will keep up. So let's talk about some of the places you've been to. You've talked about some of the places you've been to, but some of the people want to know about what are the top 3 places you'd next like to visit. You mentioned Iceland.
Iceland, for sure.
I'll be there.
Somewhere in Russia.
Right.
Africa, for sure.
Africa, for sure. Well, that's interesting, because the people of Cape Town are interested in inviting you there.
Oh, man, I am a traveler, so it's easy.
Good stuff, good stuff. So one of the things I want to talk about is to talk about some of the issues that the Drupal community has in terms of our, we're not as open as we possibly could be. But what I'd be interested in saying is, where have you seen some communities that have done a good job of engaging with outsiders and attracting more people into their community? How they've done it and how they've managed to achieve that?
It's hard to think about that. I think maybe it's for the proximity. I think I could think about 2 communities. Maybe it could be Japanese community first, and then I could say the Chinese community. They are trying to do a lot of efforts to try to to do this knowledge transfer thing. They are always trying to bring an international speaker to try to show the people what is the essence of our community and why we do this. Because obviously, from the reality is, for some people, sound like a strength.
Okay, and apart from, say, bringing international speakers in, have they managed to do something else to increase their visibility within their country? So increase the visibility of the Drupal community within their country?
Well, as maybe you know, I think India is the best example. So they really understand this is a strategy as a country or as a company to try to benefit them in terms like if they increase their contributions, they will get benefits in the future. Outside India, I could say for developing countries, no, Singapore maybe.
Okay,
they
excellent.
are doing a lot of work in that.
What about if we look at it from a slightly different angle? What open source projects have done a good job of this? So what open source projects would you see as being very open to outsiders and have done a good job of attracting outsiders in?
I think the WordPress community is really open to international community. Okay. They have some ambassador program for country, and they train the community leaders to become something that will be valuable for them in the future. Another example could be Ruby. Ruby is a Japanese product, but early in the first year of the product, they understand they need to be open to international community, and not only in Japanese. And if you go to Ruby website or tutorials, I don't know, in more than 60 languages available.
Okay,
for
so they've done a good job with the internationalization of the content and translation of the content. Have they got other tricks that they've done that they've managed to expand their community? So WordPress have their ambassador program. Anything else that they've got that we're not doing that we could learn from them?
Nothing I can remember right now.
Okay, that's cool. You've been to a lot of meetups in different countries where the level of English would vary between different countries. So a country like, for example, Iceland, there would be a high understanding of English among the developer community. At the meetings you've been to, what was the mix between the native languages used to present sessions and English used as the language to present sessions?
Yeah, obviously there is some space that you will be lost in translation, is inevitable. I think one way we could attack that is take advantage of our international community, like find people who could be able to help you. Like me, I am a Spanish speaker, so you could find someone maybe to speak Swahili and also speak English and belong in our community, and this could be our first ambassador to try to translate not only the software ideas, it's just to translate the sense of our community to bring into the reality. Because the problem is, as I said at the beginning, the problem is everything about context. So what works maybe in New York, in London, in Paris, it's not possible to literally translate in the community, in their country, because they are his own limitations. And maybe they could do better things in some areas that we didn't know, or we didn't try yet.
Okay. What about the actual session language used at different local meetups? So if you went to, say, presentations in Burma or a Drupal meetup in Burma, do they tend to use the local language for presentations, or do they tend to use English?
Okay. What I always do in those cases, someone provide me inline translation.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, so I say, well, in my case, because I was presenting the console, and Drupal console is available in 19 languages. So what I do is I do the slides in English. By the commands, I put in Hindi, in Bahasa for Indonesia, in Chinese for India, for China, in Japanese for Japan. So obviously that helps people to understand. So I say something, someone translates to Japanese, and they see it in the screen in their language, and they totally get it. So I think you need to find some point in the middle, right? Even if it's not your mother tongue, you could do some effort to try to deliver your message.
And how many languages have you picked up on the way?
No, I learned a few Chinese, but nah.
Not enough. There's always more to learn. Let's talk about the Drupal community just for a moment. In some ways, it's hard to describe what exactly defines the Drupal community. Is it the people? Is it the interactions? Is it a set of PHP scripts with a little bit of JavaScript and CSS thrown in? And as the web technology changes and matures, do you think that the Drupal community could stay as a Drupal community, but the technology under the hood stay?
If we change to another language, like Ruby?
Yeah, why not?
I think the community will remain, because in some level, when we switched from Drupal 7 to 8, we did a big change when we introduced Symfony components, Zen components, and everything. We don't change the language, but we totally changed some fundamental part of our core. And I think in the process, obviously we lose some people in our community, right? And in the other hand, we gain a lot of people that never look Drupal as an option. And now we are a third group, because now we are implementing all these modern elements in web development. Now I think people is getting to see us a little more serious and consider more. So community evolve, right? So I think it's not something fundamental, and in some level we already did.
Okay, and to extend that analogy a bit further, you spoke about Drupal on a journey between standalone PHP scripts that we've written ourselves and bringing in the Symfony components. Well, on that journey, you feel like that we've lost some people along the way. Do you think that we could have managed that process and transitioned better so that we could keep more people and not lose so many people along the way?
I don't think so. We could do better. We have a lot of time in this release.
Okay, that's true. So can you talk maybe about your best and worst experience on the road?
My best situation? Or?
Yeah, well, specifically within the context of Drupal meetups and Drupal events. What was your favorite experience that you've had, and what was the worst? You don't need to name the place. Let's not embarrass anybody here.
It's not about the place. Maybe, again, translation problem. When my first meal in Korea, in Seoul, I was, I could do this by myself, so I ordered ice noodles. And they said, machine, and what I get was, to be the contest, about 2 degrees Celsius outside, and I get ice and noodles, nothing else, right? So maybe this was my worst, but again, so I was expecting, okay, maybe they are bringing something else. No,
Just ice and noodles.
So obviously I need to maintain my posture, and then I eat a little bit, and then I order something else, just to to pretend. And the best I could say in general is the world is so different than you think. So obviously you have a lot of preconceptions about how countries like Vietnam, China are. And no, they are not too much different than us.
Okay, that's good. That's good to know. One of the things that interests me personally is the concept of the grey area within the community. So it's not I don't think that it's a binary situation that people are part of the community or that they're not. Like specifically, I know that here within Ireland, there are an awful lot of companies that use Drupal as a tool, but yet they don't engage within the community at all. Even though DrupalCon is on their doorstep, they're not at the event. What do you think that we could do to sell the benefits and the values of the community to them and get them more involved?
Well, this is really hard to say. I think it's all about a strategy. So your strategy could be a personal level or company level. So what happened, for instance, with Microsoft, this is one of the companies who is getting more open source contribution, and this is totally unexpected. So maybe the CEO, after Steve Ballmer, this new guy, he saw could be a good advantage for the company to be there, because the commitment of community will reflect exactly how power you have of the technology. So if you base your company in some level in open source, if you want to be the best, for sure you need to invest, because you need to be at the edge of the technology, right? So you need to, for me, it's a strategy. And it's totally normal to have a strategy that only use, but that only define your commitment with the product. So it's okay to only use, but obviously the people who invest in the community, they will be the key players.
Okay, cool. We'd like to think so. Another, I suppose, an example of a grey area is the Drupal Association elections and participation within those elections. We've had a historically low turnout in those elections. What do you think we can do to improve the turnout and engage people who are already members of the Drupal Association and members of the Drupal community? What can we do to get those people actively involved in the Drupal Association to see how things are run?
Maybe we are doing the wrong channels, as I say.
Okay, that's it.
But I think we need to be maybe more aggressive to try to request the participation. But I think when I say about all these initiatives, I think people are demanding too much for Drupal Association. Maybe they think the Drupal Association is that rich arm, that when you need money, they will bring that. I think so. This is the problem. It's like when I did this trip, I just say, I don't need any endorsement. So if I want to do a change, and I really believe in this idea, I will do. I think as individuals, we need to provide more and don't depend about what is the direction of the Drupal Association. And we need to stop to be whining about what is about, this is not working, blah, blah, blah. No, you need to take advantage of the knowledge you have, the community around you, and try to do. And as the other guy say, contribution is not only about code. Obviously, I contribute with code, but for me, what I did to try to exchange with the community has the same value of the line of code I provide in the Drupal Concert project, for instance, or when I submit a patch to the core, because this is important. So I think could be the channels we are using to promote, and we need to say louder to the community. You need to empower yourself if you want to do a change.
Okay, excellent. Now, some of the channels and tools and services you mentioned aren't open source projects. They're commercial closed source projects. How would you address the concerns of community members who would be averse to using tools like that? That there's a significant proportion of the Drupal community are very committed to open source, and they really want to avoid tools like Facebook, like meetup.com, things like that. How would you address their concerns?
Well, obviously, we need to have a discussion about licensing themes and the right of the content. But as I say, we are in the business of community, and community is communication. If we provide us restriction to try to avoid this get out. Maybe we need to compromise in some level, not our principles, but the ideas we have.
What about the idea of maybe doing some more integrations with these services? Do you think that's a feasible road that we could run? So if you look at the groups.drupal.org and the DrupalCon integration, do you think that we could?
This is totally, for me, this is the next step. So if I have the power of decision, the first I will put a link events, and they will be DrupalCon. Boom, that's it. And then you could see the events, and the next step for me will be have a way to contact the organizer in a specific country I want to go. Okay. See, technically, for sure, it's not a big deal.
Okay, we'll wrap up with this question. This is my, I don't know, possibly 12th DrupalCon. I've been coming to DrupalCon for about 10 years. Okay. And it's still more or less a lot of the same faces I see around for the last 10 years. We haven't been able to get a hold of the stats, but my suspicion is that the age profile of the Drupal community is getting higher. How do you think we can address that issue? Because we can't grow old forever.
Yeah, I think we are getting the same problem that developed countries, like we are getting old, and we need to think about for our next new commuters. And again, all these ideas I have there are towards to that, to say the newcomers come in, and we need to renovate our community. Okay. You see, this is and this is a problem maybe not too many open source projects have, but we are almost 16 years old. And so in 3 years, in less than 5 years, a lot of people just get tired about the community. They want to retire if they want, or they have another motivations. So for sure, for me, from my point of view, this is an important thing we need to address.
Okay, excellent. We'll wrap it up there. Thank you very much, Enzo.
Thank you.
Thank you.